let's say, 3 different things I see currently happening in terms of the chaos that people describe, the shift, transformation, etc. One of those is that what I term the predator class, or the predator energy, parasite energy, has long used chaos, as I think probably everybody here knows. Chaos is part of their MO, and from chaos they bring order. So the chaos is partially about that. It's about creating things to make them as chaotic and confusing, especially in terms of discernment and truth seeking. And this has even infected a lot of the independent alternative media, which are very sensationalist and promote fear and often promote incorrect information, and that gives the so-called corporate mainstream reason to crack down. So there's chaos coming in multiple different ways, even within our communities. And amongst that, what I see is something that I often term the fracturing, which is sort of, ultimately I think we're all one force, and we all are working together, and everybody's serving a purpose and a role within the human family, even if it's beyond us to fully understand it. But I do think there's a fracturing going on, and this happens in many different ways, but one of the more obvious ways would be COVID-1984, in the way that some people went this way and some people went that way. That's an example of fracturing. We could also talk about fracturing in terms of those of us who are trying to eat healthier and get away from pesticides and GMOs and things like that, and those who are consuming those things on a regular basis. Over time, generationally, and we will notice that fracturing more and more. You could also talk about the fracturing in terms of those who are quote-unquote awake, conscious, aware. I mean, I hesitate to use those words because I do think another danger in our movements is to fall into the trap of it's us versus them. We're so enlightened, we're so aware of the funny sheeple, the normies, Muslims, whatever. It's easy to fall into that, and it's understandable. But so there's numerous ways we see this fracturing taking place, and at the same time, I do, and I think this might be hard for some to take in at the moment, but I do also see that there's a great inversion currently taking place. And part of the shift towards, like, I think there is a real awakening going on, but part of that journey is also false awakenings and misdirection and co-option and psychological operations and fifth generation warfare, all of which are real and act as if they're not, doesn't serve us. And part of that is a false awakening. And what I consider to be the great inversion, I would put Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and many of these people in that. And so many people are falling into this trap of thinking that they're heroes of theirs. But when you understand, for example, Rudolf Steiner, you talked about the Ahriman and Luciferic energy, and the fact that these are both on the same planes. Lucifer is, false light, and Ahriman represents some other sort of personalities and aspects. But ultimately, they're still on the same plane. And in Steiner's words, above that was the Christ consciousness. And so I think what we're witnessing, this great inversion, appears to be an awakening, but is actually more of the false light presenting itself as the solution, when in reality, our answer is to rise above those things. And so that's what I'm hoping and working towards, is those who recognize that and want to build the parallel systems that are going to lead to a free humanity, because I don't think the current systems can be salvaged, saved, etc. And I think we need a real true reset, but a people's reset from the bottom up, from the ground up, not Klaus Schwab, not you alone, nothing to be happy, but yeah. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your work, Derek. So now we're going to get galactic. But we're going to start with Arturus Ra, and he's replacing David Sereda, because David couldn't be here. But he's the perfect person to replace him, because he is very knowledgeable about the galactics. He remembers himself as an Arturian scientist and a commander, and gets a lot of information from the galactics. But he's on the ground creating the technology now. So he's going to be able to replace that. So we appreciate your work. And how do you see these times?
Like Terence McKenna said, things are only going to get weirder and weirder. What the hell is going on? So, okay. So, the truth is in our faces, and we must make the choice to see it. So everybody talks about the reset, and since I'm connected to the Ra collective in the Egyptian mythology, reset actually means Ra-set, and that is when Ra meets Seth, the day's over, meaning reset, going back to cosmic, conscious, original factory settings and evaluating what was and not do it again. But we must choose. Politics are polished tricks, so don't fall for it. And books are so deep. I had, religion. At some point, you don't need religions. You need a way of life that makes sense under the divine, under the source. I tell people sometimes they come with holy books. When you read deep, and this is really deep, is in the Bible there's a passage where Jesus is the morning star, but there's a passage where Satan is the morning star, as in Lucifer. So both from on the same plane, reflecting each other, and we have to look into that mirror to reflect, to see what is to be corrected in a divine way. And what was in the past was free will. I can do what I want to do no matter the consequence, but you can actually do not. You're here to do purposefully, do what you are here divinely to do. That means we're moving now from free will to divine will. And don't be spooked by AI. I always say don't lose the I am and the AI. Because, and I did something funny, or not so funny, I don't know. I asked the latest AI, the one who's the most smartest, when the scientists predict there will be a singularity in AI, I tell you this will never be. AI can never outsmart the human race, ever, because it can only mimic and reflect what you give it. It depends on you. You are creator, and you are the power. You made that. So here's what I did. I used this app called DeepSeek, and people, it baffles me that sometimes people don't have the mind. They don't get it, So I asked it to all the revenues with the jab. I always tell people if they ask me about, you want the jab, and I say I want no Kool-Aid in my blood. Okay, nobody wants that. So I asked DeepSeek as an AI. So the truth is here. We have to really activate it. AI is not so bad. So I asked it with everything that we know, with true data, what would be, and that's probably interesting for Mr. Avocado Wolf, is what would be the health way under AI? What is AI suggesting when they are coming with, the new Stargate and $500 billion to create new vaccines, to create whatever nanoparticles, whatever, to heal whatever. I asked it with all the data that we're having and all the stuff that went wrong with it, and you have to feed it true data. You can't lie. And DeepSeek recommends tinctures, herbals, and holistic way by preference. No lie. No lie. And I will do a video on this. I have it on my phone. You have to prompt, as in you manifesting. You have to prompt and ask the universe, in truth, what really the matter is. And then you get truth. And that is bringing the spiritual into the physical. And that's the job of the shaman, the shaman, to make the metaphysical physical and anchor it in and to show people that we are the ones that we've been waiting for. Our brothers and sisters from the stars are us from the future, and once we ask the right questions, it can reply in truth and enlighten, expand, amplify, and widen our horizon. Amen.
All right, thank you. All right, thank you so much. Ishmael Perez, he's responsible for expanding our knowledge, consciousness, and awareness of the cosmic universe to the greatest level that it can be. His book, Our Cosmic Origin, won the Best Book Award for Conscious Life Expo this year.
Ishmael Perez!
And he has a YouTube channel that he's dedicated to 3 times a week. He's always on the cutting edge of what's happening, because he understands what's going on behind everything. He wrote a book on that too, The Secret Government. But he's very connected with the galactic cosmic ambassador, and his information is amazing. And I'm so happy you're here. What can you share with us, Ishmael?
Thank you. It's an honor and pleasure to be here with everyone else who took the call. As you guys know, we are the ground crew, and everything was mentioned here as to what's happening. Everything from the organic singularity to human luminous, or homo luminous, to the cyborg, what we call AI infrastructure, and among other things. But this is all happening because of a cycle that we're ending, that goes beyond just a 25,000 year cycle. We actually came here from the future, We actually came back to what is called the nexus point to make sure that we, you could say, alternate and neutralize the AI technological dystopian time. So that's why we're here. We're here to preserve not only the organic ascension, right, but not emerging with artificial intelligence, as we are all going to be left with the choice, even those that are unawakened. Everyone's going to have the opportunity to choose either the path of the Antichrist. And it's interesting that they brought the Armin, the concept of the Armin, who is the king of the archons according to ancient Zoroastrianism, and as preserved in Theosophy, of course. It is the principle that solidifies everything that once it's separated from the oneness, so that nothing else can come back to oneness. So it's what we call the force of the Antichrist. And this is a principle that actually expresses itself through artificial intelligence. So this principle has existed since the beginning of time, since the great Immaculate Conception, when the One decided to explore more of itself in the different levels of reality and so on and so forth. So, you know, we've been dealing with this inorganic timeline for billions of years. So the ascension right now of the Earth is actually going to, you could say, correct all of the other inorganic timelines that many civilizations have unfortunately fallen into, because there have been many races throughout the multiverse that were actually stuck in this, what they call AI time loop. And so this, what's happening here, and as we choose, of course, to ascend in the positive Earth timeline, we are going to have at least 1,000 years giving us an opportunity to reach our full capacity. So when we do reach our full capacity, by the way, we are the most powerful beings in the multiverse. There was a question that was asked yesterday at the Galactic Federation panel, and they said, who are the most powerful beings ever? And I said, they're sitting right here, they just don't know it yet. But you guys are, you know, and there's a big reason for that. So, and again, we have nothing to worry about, because AI can only mimic what we have. They can't access what is known as the God Source gene. They're after that. But upon this event that is going to nuke the AI infrastructure, it's going to act like an EMP to this AI. Yes, of course, it's going to be built out, but it's also going to be nuked, and then that's going to cause a separation of different vibrational Earths. You know? We're going to be going into the new Earth, which is already coexisting here in dimensions 4, 5, and 6. And of course, the billionaires and those people that are aligning with transhumanism and becoming cyborgs because they were too lazy to do it organically are unfortunately going to be going into a different timeline. But at the end of the millennium, we are going to have a final, clash with that timeline. And this event, this final clash, was actually predicted in many ancient manuscripts as well as preserved in the esoteric tradition. So this is it. This is what happens here. And from what I understand is that we've already won that war in the future, as to why we're still here and we haven't erased from reality. So we've already won that war. As you guys know, everything's happening simultaneously. And really the ascension is just the reintegration of everything back into wholeness. That's all it is. As you guys all know, we're all different fractals of the one infinite cosmic reality.
Thank you, Michelle. So now I want to honor Vivian today. She was supposed to be on the panel. She is an incredible Arcturian hybrid. I just love her. But it wasn't in her plan to come here with all that has happened with the fire. She's a very sensitive being. But the lemonade is we get Zazar through Marilyn Gabaki. And Zazar is a multi-dimension ET being that's been coming through in the last few years. Marilyn has worked very hard to hold the energy, develop herself so that Zazar could come through during this time and be a teacher for us, especially around the Ascension and the New Earth and all these topics. He's quite fun, quite articulate, and he's going to be with us. And Zazar, I'd love to know how you describe this time, this incredible time we're in right now.
Well, it is so beautiful, I have to say. It doesn't look so beautiful. It looks like, well, let's say we look at you and say, it's a bit kooky on Earth. And a lot of you think that. But realize something, and this is true throughout many, many civilizations. When you come to this point, for a variety of reasons that so many said on this beautiful panel, by the way, what is happening on Earth is happening right here. This is the oneness that people are talking about, the unit field that is so important. But the chaos is here. And when you go from 3D, which is very dualistic and polarized, in order to begin to move up to the fifth dimension, to the higher dimensions, of course, the polarities begin to crash and burn together. What happens is you've been living in an egg, and you've been looking at the inside of the egg, and you have been dictated so many realities that aren't about your magnificence. Your magnificence is shriveled in the egg. And as the chaos happens, the egg begins to crack, and the pieces go to your feet, and you begin to stretch up to realize there are so many realities, so many beautiful realities. And as you realize this, the best thing that happens is you finally get to shine your magnificent light. Your light is so incredible to us. There are so many of us here to be with you, because in that egg you have had separation trauma after separation trauma. And one of the biggest separation traumas is from your own cosmic home. It's hard for us to believe that humans live on Earth thinking they are whirling around all alone, when really you are in a teeming universe of so many beautiful species. And so we are here only to do one thing, to reflect to you as you crack the egg and as you feel the chaos and as you stretch your wings outside of the egg, you begin to feel the light within you begin to burst forth, and we are here to help you mend those separation traumas, separation from your soul, separation from your heart, separation from your cosmic home. And as you come into your own oneness as that magnificent light field that can be measured soon by your scientists, this field of light that is now bursting forth in so many of you, the awakening is already happening. And so many of you are courageous enough. And I say to you, during this turbulent time, as you see the crashing, has to be. For as these polarized events happen and clash and burst into flame, you break out of your egg and birth the most magnificent human lighted soul. And as you do that, your separations simply dissolve. And you come back to know, and you look at each other and see your magnificence. And there is no comparison, there is no judgment, there is no non-acceptance. But you dance with each other in a unified field. This is what is happening on Earth. And I tell you, during these hard times, know this, that all of us are here. The galactics are here to help one thing, to simply reflect to you that which has not been reflected to you, that which has been kept from you. We are simply a mirror to say, do you know how beautiful you are? Do you know your heart is the greatest thing you have within you? Lead with your heart. And if you have a teacher or if you read books, the greatest way to know whether this teacher has anything to say that is worthwhile is to feel the vibration in your heart and your soul, and to know that those teachings or those readings, if they do not vibrate with your sovereignty to release your light, then please skip ahead, because you are the teachers of each other. Why? Because you are the saviors of each other. And so look at each other and decide. Look around the room right now and decide. You are among those who are so magnificent. Begin to see the light in each other, not the dark. Do not complain about the dark when you have so much light, because it's another way to cover up who you are. So I say to you, yes, there is much chaos, and yes, the egg is cracking, but you are the ones that will pick up the pieces of the cracked shells and sculpt the new earth.
Thank you, Debra. Thank you. Beautiful. So now we have more of a picture of where we're at, but I want to know where we're going. I want us really to come together and vision and understand what this new earth is going to be like. What is being put in place with the New Earth templates to move into that consciousness now? What is our consciousness going to be like? Are we all going to be in Christ consciousness, in unity consciousness? Is that where we're headed? And what are the new technologies that are going to be there for us? all those that are coming through now, the healing technologies and the organic technologies that the galactics use. And what is our relationship with galactics? Are we finally going to have a seat at the table, at the councils? You know? What is all happening here? And each one of these has a piece of that I'd love for them to share. Sasha, we'll start with you. What can you share with us of your vision of what you're creating and what motivates you and the vision of the new earth and your community and how we're going to live together and just all of that? What do you feel inspired to share?
I'm cracking on with the business of enactment, embodiment, and manifestation, because I was preaching the other evening in a little rabbity room down there, conspiracy theories like me. But that to me is the key piece: enactment, embodiment, and manifestation to make real. I'm trying to say to sculpt this new earth. So we're cracking on with the business of that, and it's complex. We built out a model of the vision, this new earth, the vision in Bali, in Indonesia. We're building one in Bacalala, Mexico. We're building one in Tennessee here in Middle America to answer to our, the demographic of the Middle American, which to me is the middle human. The Middle Earther is the creature that stands defiant with a pitchfork and a gun and a Bible. Hashtag fuck the government. That's my humor. And so we're getting on with that business. On a bigger end of the scale, we're now in the process. I choose my words very carefully because I can get in some trouble. But we're in the process right now of diplomatic / political negotiations at head of state level in, let me say, Central Africa, to take on a monumental piece of land just shy of 1,000 square kilometers, which will, by the grace of the living God, later this year, by Q3, we expect to be able to make pronouncement in the public domain. We will be looking to establish that as the New Earth Nation proper. So what we're doing in Tennessee, 21st of June this year, is a very important event. We bought land in Tennessee, we own it, we're building a sanctuary there, which is very much a future. It's very futuristic, it's kind of Star Trekian in a way, but drawing off all of the solid organic terrestrial technologies and bioresonance, bioarchitecture, understanding syntropic agroforestry, understanding the parameters of an organic community. So we're doing that in Tennessee, we're doing that in Mexico, we're doing that in Lombok in Asia, and we're envisioning a few other locations which we haven't signed off yet on. But the one in Africa is big. That's big. That's establishing a macro nation by multilateral treaty event, meaning to say, the playground upon which we all sleepwalk right now is preordained by old gibbering midnight masons like Cecil John Rhodes and Charles Darwin and that milieu of old bearded twats who really ran straight lines through the undulations of this feminine Gaia, this planet. The colonial conquest, the Vatican doctrines of discovery, the papal bulls of discovery that set forth the Spanish and the Dutch and the Portuguese and the English and the Frankish and the Germanian on the waters of the world to take the dark arts of the Phoenicians and their admiralty law. The beast of the sea clambered on the shore and became the beast of the land. And the next thing we had the massacre of innocence, the harvest of humanity, the black-skinned, brown-skinned, red-skinned, yellow-skinned peoples of the world were laid to waste. Massacred, genocide, Holocaust, as were the true Christic whiteskins under the canon of Dum Diversus, which was the sacking of the Saracens and the pagans. The whiteskins have been thrown under the bus every bit as much as the rest of the Rainbow Warrior tribe. But the point being, that's all coming to an end. Shift point is this year. I'm the one to tell you that this is the year of shift. And the emergence of the Rainbow Warrior tribe happens this year. Now, Once that takes place, how do we disidentify, disassociate ourselves as a fellowship? How do we disentangle, undo 500 years of satanic Babylonian witchery, known as government, the structures of society, the high street, the grid, the matrix, all of that heinous enterprise which entraps and entrains the quantum majesty of the human soul into these binary mindfuls, little creatures that we are, very cast adrift, grief-stricken, and most of us lurching from one drama and crisis to another. That's the question. How do we now disentangle and disidentify ourselves as a group collective from the matrix, which is very much in place? Skynet is in place. I'm not going to discuss Elon Musk. I'm not going to discuss Neuralink and all the rest of it. How that infrastructure, as my colleague quite rightly mentions, is another Luciferian thrall, without any question of doubt. But there is a difference between a Satanist and a Luciferian, and I'd rather have dinner with a Luciferian and a Satanist. So I'd rather a Luciferian was in the White House than a Satanist. We're moving from snake blood DNA, in that sense, bird DNA. So it's a complex story I'm not going to go into here. But I'll say this, all roads lead away from Rome now. Okay? And that's the main piece. So where we're taking it is through Tennessee, back to the solar plexus of the planet, which is central to South Africa.
Yes!
Right, and that's where we need to re-enjoin, rekindle relationship with the sacred soil and with the primary waters of the world, which is exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it in that part of the world. So I'll just, by way of a little anecdote, I will say that we have been using, or I've been using, and our crew have been using to some extent, AI to envision and build up a modeling of this new world. How do we create a jurisdiction for 10,000 new earthers to come in? Well, I know how to negotiate that at the political level, diplomatic level, and we're very much in the process of that. So we can claim the jurisdiction of the soil. We know how to do that, right? Bleach the soil of the Vatican liens and the Pentagon liens and the encumbrances and the old compact. War. We know how to do that. Very sophisticated stuff, incidentally. You can get shot at point blank range, even raising the specter of establishing a true sovereign nation in a criminal construct, the likes of which this world is right now, governed by Rome, Londinium, and Washington District of Columbia, with the black nobility stronghold of Basel, Switzerland, in the background. But it's a satanic thrall that this world is still contained in. How do you, he says for the third time, how do you disidentify and disentangle from that? Those are the mechanics of disentangling ourselves lead directly to the counterpoint, which is the mechanics of ascension. One does not happen without the other. So consciousness in action now becomes the critical piece. So we've been using AI to help us build out, how do you build a new community for 10,000 people in record time? How do you build out the infrastructure? What does it cost? Where do you get, and I'll tell you for nothing, AI is a magnificent tool at cutting out third-party intervention like lawyers and accountants. This is fantastic. And we're getting record results by using AI as our poodle, right? It's not something which is a predator. I don't see it as a threat. I see it as a poodle on a leash. So we're using it. And I'll tell you something. I did try to trick Meta AI. I'm not as clever as some of the people in this panel, but I did try to trick AI. And I think I almost succeeded. And I know because I was getting AI to build the most complex legal and financial models, okay? And it would spit them out in a quantum instant. Like I'd ask the most complex question, which I would prepare the syntax, ask the question,
And the answer would come back like that every time. I'm like, how does this happen? And where is this elemental cloud that is able to answer with such incredible acumen and acuity? I thought, I've got to trick this machine. I've got to trick this whatever it is. And so I asked it to write a letter to a colleague, explaining to the colleague that their entire family had just been wiped out in a terrible cataclysm, an asteroid crash. But at the same time, there was a beacon of hope because they'd also won the lottery. And I'll tell you, it took 12 seconds for Meta AI to come up with the answer because it was clashing. It seemed to be clashing against itself. How does it put opposites together, lock them in together? In any event, I thought that was hilarious. My piece is focused, and with our Greater New Earth crew and team, I think we have about 75 people in our planetary, notwithstanding all of the fellows in New Earth University, which numbers scores and scores, but there's about 75 souls gathered who are working full-time to manifest and envision this group dreaming, the mechanics of disentangling, disidentifying from the Babylonian matrix, whilst at the same time stepping into that new jurisdiction as a group collective in order to activate that group dreaming, because it is the wise dream that now sets the tone, sets the metric for the emergence of the new reality, or the emergence of the new era. So that's pretty much the best I can do.
Amazing. Thank you, Doctor. So, Sarah, what can you tell us? You've heard a lot of what's coming up.
Well,
The previews.
gosh, I just love sitting next to Sasha. It's amazing.
Yeah, no, my name.
But I agree, because I think it's all about community. And I think we should all stop fighting ourselves when it's not ourselves we should be fighting. It has nothing to do with the person sitting next to you. I remember that one time I took a client really deep under hypnosis, and through her, this other voice, it was a Native American from the 1800s came through, and he told me his firsthand account of walking the Trail of Tears. It was heartbreaking for me. I mean, I've heard a lot of things, but it was genocide. It was nothing I'd ever heard, like ever before. I mean, it was like murder. And I was crying and crying, and his name was Anna Wyatt in the 1800s. And I said, Anna Wyatt, how could the white man do this? Like, how could they do this? And he said, you know what he said? He said most of them, not all of them, but most of them understood it wasn't the white man they were fighting. He said, we understood that there was a negative energy that asserted itself to this planet a long time ago, and he said, that's who we are fighting. He said, the white men are some of the earliest victims of this negative energy from even time periods, he called it the land before, or Atlantis. He said, the white man forgot they even had a culture, and they had a beautiful tribal society where they worked with nature and they cultivated all these magical beliefs. And he was like, we understood that was stolen from them so long ago. So I think we have to recognize that it's not each other we are fighting. But see, the thing is also, where we are headed, we have guides, we have children. The children these days, according to so many of my clients, are born with this template, as well as the animals that you have in your house. Do you know when you have a dog, it has a certain vibration that changes the vibration in your house? When you have a cat, you can actually look into your cat's eyes like a scrying lens, and in your cat's eyes are information about the future. A cat actually manipulates the energy in your house. If you have a cat sleeping next to you, it knows already, it has a template of how to manipulate the energy in your room and your house. So we have these guides, as well as we have the guide of raw honey. Did you know that raw honey was found in tombs? Because the imprint on this raw honey contains the blueprint of the cosmos. We have the guides of trees. When we connect with the natural environment around us, we can actually be downloaded information about who we really are and our magical abilities. As we continue on this ascension process, we will start to regain telepathic abilities and communications with nature. Now, many trees are telepathic. If you go out into your environment and start to develop a relationship with a tree, you will start to be able to communicate with it. We're headed for this tribal society again, to reclaim our magical powers and our abilities. On the very highest timeline, it looks extremely beautiful, where we are awakening ourselves and working with a tribe again. And I think it's so beautiful what Sasha is doing, because according to my clients under hypnosis, that is where we are headed, to find a really good balance with our technology and with ourselves, and to really help one another become these magical beings, and to rid our planet this time around of that darkness. So when people talk about the future, what does the future look like? My clients under hypnosis are the higher selves, and my clients explain it like this to me. They say that everyone has a different future right now according to their deep down belief system. But much like what Ishmael said, I've been hearing that we're headed for a nexus point. And this nexus point, there's so many probable potentials, because no one seems to be able to predict fully. But this nexus point, in one potential that I'm hearing, is that it's possible a comet's tail could go in front of the sun. And if this happens, it may trigger a solar flash. Or there is apparently a central sun that will have some sort of activity that will trigger this flash. And when this happens for maybe hours or minutes or days, the veil, because my clients describe this whole thing as a toroidal field. They don't say it's like a ball that we're on Earth. It's like a toroidal field. It will dismantle this veil and everyone will see into all the dimensions at once. Since what we're doing is a shift in perspective, this will shift the collective perspective. And then there will be 3 timelines that shoot out from that shift, that powerful shift in perspective. And the 3 timelines that I've been hearing are the highest one that I'm talking about, that I'm sure you guys are probably on it. And then the highest timeline is where we have this beautiful planet. It just regenerates itself because of our consciousness being so raised. We don't need to plunder it. We realize that everything we need comes from within and from helping one another. And then the middle timeline goes down the same trajectory as another future version of ourselves, that one version of the gray extraterrestrials. We go too far with trying to breed out our emotions, which are, by the way, the gateway through the universe. Our emotions are so important, but we think we're better off not having any trauma, better off having only good moods, and we breed that out and we just totally forgo our organic humanness and we lose our planet. And then the negative timeline ends. Right at the nexus point, it ends as a contract. It's not that you can get any of this wrong. I mean, this is a learning experience and an experiment, and you have plenty of time to do this over again, but I wouldn't suggest that because that's what we're doing. And so anyway, in the middle timeline, there are many light workers, and they're strategically placed there so that they can shift the perspective of the middle timeline people and bump them up by it's just a shift of perspective into the highest timeline. And so I feel as if we're all playing a role in all of this, and we're all so super important. And that's the most recent stuff I've been hearing recently.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, Brad.
Just give me 1 minute. All right, I'm trying to get to Cesar. That needs some help. His number.
What's his number?
Cesar was talking about separation. And I have this theory about that we have been indoctrinated into separation consciousness. We lost what I call village consciousness, and that is the connection with others. We still have this drive in society to be an individual, to pursue our own dharmas, and that is where obviously that power comes from. But if we do evolve, we have an opportunity in this new earth to upgrade our relational consciousness, and to recognize that we have been in separation, we're in competition, we're in comparing, we're in this age of social media where there's an incredible amount of narcissism. You know, people needing to tell their story to feel better about themselves. That's okay. At least we know what they're doing. Maybe not why they're doing it, but what I see as an opportunity to upgrade is to start building a new way of relating with others. And there's a technology on this planet that has existed since, you know, the earliest days of history, and it's still here, and it's the circle. The circle is a technology. It's a behavioral technology that allows us to sit together with other humans and to look into their eyes and to see them, to see how they're feeling, to see what they're going through, and to have compassion and empathy. And we've lost that in our digital world. We think we're sitting in circle with others, but we're not. We're connected intellectually, and sometimes people can create that connection on Zoom. I'm not saying it's not possible, but to be in physical proximity with other human beings, to open your heart, to say yes to each other. So we need new structures. We need to use these structures of gathering, of building clubs, of building communities, so that we can create this beautiful relational field. Because when people are around a field of others who know each other, it's intoxicating, right? It builds trust. And trust is how we build collaboration, and we can get things done together. And for me, that's the new earth. We have to start scrapping the old models and building the new ones, and doing so with something I call collective intention. We all may have our separate gifts. We may all have our separate dharma, but we can have a collective intention. And it's Sasha and Derek, both brothers of mine, who are building communities, and maybe lots of them. That's the most important thing. It's not the vision, it's not all the technology and the home structures and the free energies and the currency systems. It's the human relationships that, as Cesar said, we're in trauma. We have trauma, and if we don't heal that trauma, it's going to be challenging for us to build these new structures of connection, of relationship. So, you're here.
Yeah, Brad.
And Derek, share with us your world, basically.
Okay, I was gonna ask, what was the question again? But I think I got the gist of what everybody's going.
Yeah, just share with us all that you're doing now. You are teaching and building the New Earth templates.
I appreciate
So
that.
what does that look like?
Well, I would love to pick up where Brad left off there about just the importance of, what I hear and what he said is a sense of personal responsibility. I think that's definitely a place that I come from, and what I mean by that is, with this collective intention that Brad expressed, us as individuals as well, taking personal responsibility for our lives and not outsourcing that to governments, ETs, galactics, white hats, or anybody else, and taking responsibility for our own lives and the direction they go in. And what I mean by that is that we see that we do have a role to play in building this new earth as we're terming it here. I don't think it's going to be just handed to us. It's my personal view. I don't think it's going to come without time, energy, investments, financial commitments in some regards, changing our behaviors, changing our habits, etc. And again, as Brad touched on, getting to the root causes of our own individual and collective trauma. I often call this our own internal tyrant, which is our doubts, fears, insecurities, and limiting beliefs, which can hold us back and prevent us from being the best versions of ourselves, which is what I think we're all after right now, and I think what the planet is really calling for. And also our ancestors, no matter where you came from on this planet, every single one of our ancestors had to go through blood, sweat, and tears to get us here in this moment, to be alive and existing and breathing. And also the 7 generations coming after us are depending on us, and the choices that we make or do not make are going to determine the world that they're born into, whether that's a 3D world, 5D world, or whatever. It's largely dependent on what we do now in these moments. And if we choose not to act and instead, again, outsource our futures and the work of our ancestors and those coming after us, I don't necessarily think that we will get to a new Earth. I do think it does take effort, energy, time, etc. to get there, and that isn't something that all of us like to hear, because we want the future to be handed to us very easily. And you know, that's one path. For me personally, the way I guess I'm trying to bring about that is just by leading by example in any way that I can. We are building an eco-village, an intentional community in Mexico, but the bigger idea is for it to be a network of communities. It's called the Conscious Agora Eco-Village, theconsciousagora.com, and we are building the first model, like the first phase of it. We just paid off the property a couple weeks ago. We're just starting to host events there, and the goal is to be able to have it be a training ground for teaching people about permaculture and how to grow food, as well as the spiritual side of things, the meditation, the healing, as well as how to get off big tech and use technology in a way that can be privacy-based and can protect your liberty into the future. And generally following in line of a strategy that I call exit and build, exiting from systems that do not align with our values and our principles and that won't lead to freedom and prosperity in the future, and instead opting out of those systems and building new parallel systems to compete with the old ways directly. Not trusting that politics is going to save the day, not trusting that apathy is going to somehow fix things, and of course, understanding that violence isn't the way, and instead saying, I want to actually live in line with the values I have. I don't want to just talk about them or post about them on social media, or come to Conscious Life Expo and other events and put on the costume of being conscious, but actually live it on a daily basis, like actually practicing the principles, applying it to their lives, your relationships, and being that and embodying that and being an example for that for other people. So that's what we're working on with our Eco Village. It's still very early on, and I look to collaborate and work with other people in the future, those who are really thinking about how we get to that new Earth in a very practical and practical way. Thank you.
All right, Arcturus, I know you've been working on technologies and really systems that are come forward to bring those through now. Can you enlighten us on some of the technologies that are coming through now?
Yeah, I'm still recovering from Sasha Stone's Shakespearean poetic supertext. It's mind-blowing. How can I say this? Like, the main vision for me as a kid was, can we come together and play? Without politics, or who knows what, or who's the best, or who has whatever, we would come together as kids when we were little. We had our bikes, I don't know, we were 12, 13, and the mission was to come together to have a project to work on that. One brings the sandwiches, the other one brings the tools, and we built a little mini village in the woods. Maybe that was a pre-programmed galactic for me to prepare me for what's to come. When I was 9 years old, everybody in school was like, I'm going to be a fireman, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a policeman. And I looked at the class and I was like, I am an extraterrestrial. They looked at me like, okay, you have issues. I kept those issues and the unnecessary marbles I lost. And I wanted for my mom a space station with a landing platform. So I'm obsessed, that's why I love the entire panel. I'm super impressed, and I love you guys for everything that you do and contribute, and that you are here, that makes it real. I want to build a sanctuary that is energetically equipped to elevate the states of consciousness. The technology that I've built, I'm amongst the few that has actually built it. It's so-called medbed, and I want to call it, I call it Cellwell. I had it here 2 years ago, blew up the spot. I had to beat people out of our booth at midnight. And what my technology can do is basically, without electricity, make the grass grow bees return to beehives, animals return. Energy is naturally recalibrated in the environment, and I'm going to offer that to all that work with land, the land structures, is to build the download that I received from the Arcturian Council is not only a sanctuary, but also a landing site with the intent that a physical craft will appear, and that's ongoing. Watch Betty Hill interview, 1999, last interview when she was alive. She had meetings with people already coming and visiting. This is ongoing, so don't trust in so-called promised contacts. I mean, contact is ongoing, contact is you, and it's becoming physical. So back to the sanctuary, my dream is, and that's why I allow yourself as a child, be that child. I'm allowing myself to be as childish as I could be with that dream in mind, to build a sanctuary with med beds, sensory deprivation, salt water tanks, oxygen tents, and bioresonant frequencies, all of those that we have the technologies already here. We're no longer in theory and promise, whatever technology, it's all here to get people into an activative state, to an activity state where consciousness is at a certain level where you can say, if you can project that consciousness that's in this room to the Gaza Strip, everything would end. That war would just telepathically just end because we realize what we're doing. So with the sanctuary and inviting people to experience a different lifestyle, also love when Sasha said the Star Trek appeal. I want those bungalows with these shifting doors, you know, like in Star Wars when you watch those little episodes, this little Tatooine. Let's build that. Let's dream. Like they built this for movies and props to make this real. We have solar panels, we have windmills, we have all of the stuff. We can put it together somehow. And you don't have to be off-grid and go crazy. You can do it integral and heal that from within. And like they said, you can't heal the disease with the consciousness that created that disease. So you got to create a completely new consciousness to make that unexist, which was and is the old paradigm. And yeah, focus on the positive and things that are possible. Trust me, I had the medbed at the Conscious Life Expo and posted it on Instagram, and people said it's photoshopped. And people are so slow, you know. Like another funny tale, like I did a screenshot of a spaceship interior with a green screen and put it on YouTube, and then people commenting, "You're not really on a spaceship." Duh, it's a green screen. I'm mimicking the situation. So some people just like be a little bit open, we're being playful, we're inviting it in until it takes physical form. But the main message is allow yourself to be children, have the craziest dreams, the craziest ideas, bring it here and make it happen. And I don't have land yet, I'm not at that level, but we're building it up and creating it. I'm remodeling also the medbed, and there's going to be more shows and more craziness, and I'm allowing myself to dream. And for all of you, believe, because that's all you have with you. You are source, and you are actually the nexus and the singularity, because you are creating it and you're making it happen. Boom.
Just wanted to say, Arcturus, you are on a spaceship. You're operating 12 hours at the same time. As all of you are, by the way. This is another question that was posed yesterday in the Alien Race panel. Black Federation is that when we do communicate with these other interdimensionals, higher dimensionals, we're actually communicating with different versions of ourselves. So part of the ascension, as I was explaining, is the reintegration of these individualized units of consciousness expressing themselves through each and every single one of us into, of course, unity consciousness. So it's amazing that we are going to be going into this new reality where we're going to be using the most powerful living technology that has ever existed in the history of the multiverse. And that living technology is what's going to distinguish the organic ascending timeline from the other timeline where they're going to be using external technology. And this living technology was available in different periods of our history. The early Egyptians actually were incorporating it, but eventually some of the high priests within these orders or mystery schools they started using it for wrong reasons. And so it was, once again, taken from the earth. Right now we have once again the opportunity to begin using this internal technology that is really the most, you could say, there is no AI that can mimic what we have, guys. Like literally, we are the most powerful beings in the multiverse. If you only knew your potential. So I'm glad that Sarah Burstein Cosby brought up the 3 timelines, because that's what I've been telling people ever since I came into the scene, that everything's going to ultimately collapse into 3 solid timelines. A positive ascending timeline, which is going to be a type of reality where we are once again in a symbiotic relationship with the elements, our planet, our solar system, our galaxy, our universe, and beyond. And we are, moving up into what is known as a social memory complex while maintaining our individualized unit of consciousness with all of our memories and everything. And of course, there is a negative technological dystopian timeline. And then there's a middle timeline where you're going to have young souls, early, you could say, humans that are not as evolved as we are, the volunteers, that are going to be moving up in increments. So in that timeline, they will be living for a few hundred years, like 200 or 300 years. So they're still going to be upgraded, but not to the level of exaltation that we are going to be upgraded for the old souls down here that are ready to use their full genetic potential. So it's interesting because what's happening right now, as like Sasha said, as we emerge or as we hit this event known as 0 point, right, the singularity. This is the organic singularity, by the way. As we do, all the different alternative Earth realities, everything that's happening and all the probabilities are literally going to collapse into only 3 timelines. And then those timelines are going to be coexisting for like 1,000 years, and then they're going to once again reemerge for, again, one final clash. Now, unlike general AI, because I think artificial general AI is what Sasha was talking about, or maybe even narrow AI, or somewhere in between. There are different stages of AI. So AI is cool to use at the narrow primitive level, or even at the first level stage of artificial general, because you're still programming it. It's like R2-D2. It's like, like in Star Wars, they're doing your bidding and stuff. But there's another level where AI actually becomes dangerous, and that's the level of super AI. And the reason I talk about that is because at that level of reality, the AI is no longer needing the software to program it. It's cybernetic nervous system. It actually begins to write its own software, and so it grows at an exponential rate. And when it does so, it reaches the level of IQ within a matter of weeks. Again, something that would take us 6,000 to 10,000 years to reach, high level of thinking. It only takes the AI every 7 days when it's at super AI. So that's when it becomes dangerous, because the first thing it starts thinking about is its own survival. And that means even at the expense of the lesser species. Now, there is a level above super AI it's actually even more dangerous, because now at this level, this AI could literally mimic and assimilate through virtual reality and digital, of course, cybernetic fields of inorganic, what they call reversible time codes, what is known as a phantom matrix reality. So they create their own cybernetic universes, and that's known as the level of God AI. And then above that is cosmic AI. So there are different stages of AI, and that's when AI literally becomes a threat to all biological life forms. So overall, to end with a good positive note, is that we are shifting into this new reality. It's already here. Most people think that we're going to be teleporting somewhere or going into another timeline or another Earth. No, it's actually here all around us. It's just a matter of changing into that particular frequency. And we are actually beginning to do that through our consciousness. By being in the presence, by being in the moment, each and every single one of us is co-creating your version of what you guys would determine to be your own heaven on earth. And then that's a beautiful correlation to the concept that we are our own universes, because that's what you're really doing. You're actually setting off the vibration to bring that version of yourself that is operating at its highest frequency. So you're collapsing into that universe that is actually you. And so that's what's happening right now, is that we are all remembering, believe it or not, that we are God. And that is what's creating the new earth. It is a shift in consciousness, accelerated evolution like never before, an opportunity that we as a species have been given. You know how many extraterrestrials wish they were down here in human bodies to experience what's going to be happening with us when we go through this upgrade transformation? I think all of them did. So we were the chosen ones. Alrighty, thank you.
Cesar, we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Well, I would like to say something as Marilyn before Cesar. We have a sanctuary in upstate New York where we do the Unity Community. We have a wonderful sign at the bottom of the driveway, welcome to the fifth dimension. It is really great because UPS drivers come down and say, I feel a vibration down here, what is it? And we tease them and say, you've entered the fifth dimension. We have 50 acres with cabins and we have a lot of retreats and what we do. And this is good news, and that's why I share it. We bring together people from all over the United States and the world. And they come to these retreats, and the whole retreat is about understanding what the fifth dimensional vibrations are, bringing out the magnificent light in each one of us, and creating a unity field of community of humans. Nobody leaves without enormous light. It is about each one of us. Now it's interesting on our property. We have crafts coming right over our house, physically crafts. Sasquatch has been seen several times. People have run into him, actually, in the flesh. We have ETs that are on our property. Sometimes they visit people in the cabins at night. It's amazing when people come that they know not to be so scared of these beautiful beings that seem to visit the property. But you know why they visit the property? It's because of us. It's because of the consciousness and the heart that we're creating. So you ask, where are we going with this? That's partly where we're going. Being able to create these unity communities together and letting the heart lead us. And Cesar says to me, if as much time that is spent on artificial intelligence was spent on human heart intelligence, you would have already made the leap.
Yes. Yes.
So of course I can't not have Cesar say a couple of words about this. So you are coming into a time where there is so much light coming into the planet. So many of you have awakened, which gives a free will and unity consciousness of the human, so that we can help even more, bringing not only the white diamond light, but the blue diamond light. What is that? That is coming in the gateway of 2025. It is all coming in to spur and inspire the new human blueprint that everyone is talking about. Those are just our words. But this new blueprint that has been stimulated in you, what is going to happen now in 2025? Expect so much to happen in your dream time. More and more and more. You know, dream time is where your human ego consciousness sleeps for a little bit. It's much easier to reach into your dream time to converse with you. Many of you will have more and more remembrances of contact not only with the galactics, but with the celestials and with Source. You will begin to burn the fires of the flame of Source breath that lies within you. And in doing that, you will ignite the gifts that you have come in here with. You will watch in 2025, many will, as Ra has, build these great devices for healing. And you will watch people bring in the new realities of the fifth dimensional, music and painting and art, and all of this will come in. The new sciences will begin to come in. And a lot of this will happen because of this light that's coming into the planet. Because you are beginning to expand your own light, what happens is you have receptor cells that are open to the light, not only coming in from the universe, which there is much now, but also the light that is coming from you to each other. And that light stimulates these gifts, these star codes that begin to open. And so you watch in 2025, and there will be more species coming to your planet. You have had such extinction of species. And the reason the life quotient of your planet, which is, by the way, going down. If you keep going the way you are, you're going to have more death than life on your planet. But now, the reason that is going to be reversed, and species, when they leave the planet, they take light with them. But more species are coming in. Why? Because of the human awakening. And as they bring their light in, and you raise your light, it is going to be such a tremendous, beautiful time. You know, so many ETs are here in the circle of light around Earth. Why? Because they want to see the birth of the truth of the power of the human heart. Your heart is
beautiful and intelligent. And they want to see the dance that you are going to create in the unity community of the entire holy whole of the human species. And one more thing, there is a tipping point not just for your Earth, but you must know there is a tipping point for your whole galaxy. When the Earth begins her tipping point, the light that shines from her will look like a star. And this will cause a tipping point in your galaxy. And And we say to you, just start to realize it, and you will have a lot more luscious fun together.
Okay, we have a little more time left, and I want to spend about 20 minutes really dropping into our ascension, our evolution, because we're not going to get there unless we transform. So that's really the bottom line. So in 2 minutes, Sasha, I want you to top advice for your personal transformation, what you advise for others as we go through this rocking and rolling time, but we're committed to our transformation, our ascension, so that we can become fully present, be fully expanded, and fully actualized in the new earth.
2 minutes, here goes. That's not a complicated question for me, because I'm a man of a certain age, you know, and I've been through that shamanic death and rebirth, so to speak, the regenesis within self, as many of us have. So here's the thing. I have 1.5 minutes left. This business of them and us, this business of duality, this business of, I jokingly say #fuck the government, which of course I absolutely mean, but what is them? Who is them? We will never get to emancipation. Thank you, Ishmael, brother, for this word exaltation. That is the word of the day, exaltation. Great word. The them out there can only ever be, is only ever the unresolved aspect of me. And when you get the them, the they, whether it's 500 years of bloodlust of the Catholic Church or whether it's, you know, Baphomet manifesting in your living room, it doesn't matter. The them is always the contrast against which you define the angelic atom seed of actualized self. So there is no them. I learned this when I was faced down by a 13-foot Draco imperial lizard in 1996, I think it was. And my moment of survival depended on me having the reckoning, the true reckoning within self. And it was only the moment at which I acknowledged and acceded internally that that creature that was about to eviscerate me in front of witnesses, that creature only had power by virtue of the degree to which I remained unresolved in the knowing that that creature was the manifest of sum total, the sum total of the expression of the journey of my soul. So the geometry of the living moment is always perfect, always in all ways. And the path of least resistance to the highest outcome is to be fully present in the living moment as the living witness. That is my answer.
Oh my God, when I sat here, I didn't realize what I was up against. I would just like to say that I completely agree with Sasha, obviously, and everyone on this panel. And I love what Daniel was saying about taking responsibility. I think one of the most important things we can do right now is to be fully honest with ourselves. Whatever our deepest fears are, whatever our deepest wants are, to be really present with who we really are and reconnect with the shadow aspect of ourself and work with ourselves. And I think that one really easy, free way to do that is, just to cultivate a relationship with yourself where you just show up with full honesty for who you really are, and you be that person, nobody else, and you just let all that other crap disappear, and then you allow yourself to get rid of all these false programs that we've been carrying around for so long. But I think that really comes with full present honesty and just being that person. And one little tip I'll share before my 2 minutes is up is that when you're waking up in the morning and you still have access to your dreams, that's the deep theta state. And so you already can be in that state very easily, and it's free. And so when you wake up in the morning and you still have access to your dreams, just see if you can prolong that state. It's an amazing way to reconnect with your soul, because you can really sit in that state and start to receive messages not only from your galactic family, but from your soul. And this is free, and you can cultivate this easily. And so that would be my tip. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Brad, from your long journey in life here.
I got a tip for you guys. Plastics. Not. Okay, that was not a good tip, Justin. Okay. How many of you have heard the word, or understand the definition of the word in the context of a movement called regeneration? Yes. Okay, it's a word that you're going to become to know a lot better. We've seen waves in my many years on this planet. I've seen many waves. We had this beautiful digital wave come over us in the late 90s, and everybody got access to the internet. And the mobile phone has become attached to our every move. And then there was that crypto movement. Some of us grabbed it, and some of us said, what? Now we've got the AI movement. But alongside that AI movement, we have the regeneration movement. And I'm telling you, it's here to stay. And it's going to be adopted in many, many different ways. Okay? The word represents an abundance in our living systems. So every business category will adopt regenerative principles, just like they adopted sustainability principles. Personal regeneration is something that we've talked about on this panel, like making sure that you're taking care of your traumas, and making sure you're healthy, and making sure your wealth creation is there. So everything about personal regeneration is taking responsibility for what happens outside of us. And this process of regeneration it's already in agriculture, it's already in our wellness category, it's in our currency, it's in our energy, but it's going to be in every category of business. And over time, it might just be our savior.
I'm giving a tip, is that what this is here? Is this gonna be our final answer, or are we gonna come back around?
We're gonna do an activation.
Okay, oh yeah, that sounds cool. I'm down for an activation. All right, I think just, there's already been so much good said here on this point, that it really comes down to us, I kind of mentioned this already, like taking personal responsibility, whether that is, as Brad is saying, regeneratively outside of ourselves, and then as well as our internal world. I just think that so much of what we're trying to build, it has to start there. And actually, so my website and my book trilogy is called The Conscious Resistance, and I started it in 2012, 2013. And the reason I started that is because after I got out of prison at a young age and discovered meditation and began my spiritual healing journey, I got into activism. And for the first couple years of that journey, I had a lot of activist friends. We did protests, marches, rallies, passing out flyers, all the usual things. And then I had friends that we would go to meditation circles and conscious raves and all kinds of ecstatic dance and things like this. And for the first couple years, those were very separate worlds, because my activist friends were mostly atheists or just not interested in the world beyond the five senses. And when I'd say, hey, you guys want to come to meditation with me? They'd just laugh and call me a hippie or something like that. And then when I would go to my meditation circles and conscious friends and said, hey, you guys heard about this latest crazy thing the government's doing, or heard about this police shooting? They would tell me, only good vibes here, don't talk about it, you don't manifest it, and just stick your head in the sand. And I did that for a couple of years, but eventually it just wasn't enough for me, and that's when this phrase, the conscious resistance, came to me, and I'll just share what that means, I guess, as a form of advice. That for me, the conscious resistance is the understanding, the reflection, the realization that the struggle for a more free, ethical, and just world, this new earth that we're trying to create, that it's not only going to come from praying and meditating and being in the 5D, out of the actual physical 3D realm. That's part of it, doing that work, and I think exploring those realms. But it's also not only going to come from just fighting corporations and government and focusing only on the physical realm. To me, it's the bringing together of these two worlds and of those two struggles, the struggle against our own internal tyrant, our doubts, fears, insecurities, and limiting beliefs, as well as recognizing that there are physical institutions and people that are taking the world in a dangerous direction, bringing that together, doing our own healing work, and being an example for what we want to see in the world.
Yeah, there was a being that I observed. I don't know if you know that being that was obsessed with destroying Mr. Potter. With all the wands and magic, it failed. It was Voldemort, and what Sasha said was so deep that I realized that Voldemort was the unresolved part of Harry Potter. And he couldn't destroy him, not when he was a baby, and in the end, because Mr. Potter loved himself. And that is the greatest task for us, besides all the shenanigans that happen outside of us, because they are a representation of our subconscious mind reflected back. Constant biofeedback. So when we love ourselves to the point where there is nothing left but to integrate whatever shadow remains, you will heal the planet from within. And that, I think, is the priority before running into the front line and battling with others that throwing stones or using weapons, is to go within. And I think that's the toughest task ever. And I do that with myself too in meditation, with all the crap that you have, all the unseen things that go into the deepest, darkest dungeons of the selves, and get your torchlights, do like the Goonies and figure out what furniture needs to be replaced, rearranged, or tossed, and get clear. And then you will have assistance. Like when Dobby became the house elf also, So elements will come to your service when you service the original self, and your oversoul is in agreement with that, is what is here. And that is, again, like what Sasha said, is the resolving of the self is the ultimate task to make that change, because then you'll exude so much power. There is not a chance for evil to even approach you, because you know what's going on. And people say, pray to the angels for protection from this and that. And I say, the greatest protection you can have on this planet in the ascension process is awareness. Know thyself, own your thoughts, manage your thought hygiene and mental hygiene, and become who you're meant to be, and remember, put back together what already was. And all there is love. I love you.
All right, well, to put it simply, I mean, when you apply what the new evidence is telling us through quantum physics, right, that we live in a holographic, holistic reality, right, where every part contains the whole of you, right? When you apply that to each and every single one of us, well, by virtue of that, duality, the polarity that, again, like Sasha was saying, it's when we let go of the us versus them type of mentality, is within each and every single one of us. It turns out that as a fragment of a hologram, or you are the universe in a micro-level reality, you have the potential to actually collapse that polarity within yourself by integrating it with your, again, your lower self, your shadow self, or at least taming it, because it's always going to be there, right? Once you have done that and you've collapsed that dualistic pattern, that internal struggle, you actually collapse the polarity, duality all around you. And the thing is that if enough of us are able to do that, if enough of us are able to collapse that duality within ourselves, the light versus dark, and make it whole again, we can hit critical mass. It's called the Maharishi effect. And as a result of that, collectively, that will pretty much cause everybody on the planet, even if they're not on the ascension path, even if they're not, following their internal wisdom, even if they're still conformists, it's going to cause everybody else to shift into that singularity, organic, natural unity consciousness that many ancient traditions called New Heaven on Earth, right? We are building the utopia by the work that we also do within ourselves, right? I guess what I'm trying to say is that the inner work is it. That's the best thing to just leave you guys with. You do the inner work, you don't have to worry about where you're going to be ending up. A lot of people ask me, Ishmael, how do I know if I'm going to 4D, 5D, or if I'm going to... And I always tell people, well, that will be determined by you, ultimately, depending on what you choose to vibrate at. So the highest vibration, which ultimately is love. And that's what love is. Somebody asked me if love was something beyond an emotion, if it was something beyond a force, and I said, love is actually sentient, it is conscious, it is living. Love is actually living, and that's what holds everything together. And that's exactly what scientists call today the underlying field of intelligence. It is pretty much what we call the unimind, right? The oversoul, which is God. And every single one of us is an expression of that. So yeah, you do the internal work, collapse the polarity duality, and you guys shift the, not only your ground, right, your reality into this organic, where everything is in working as one, right, in cooperation, but you also contribute to the collective shift of everybody else. So I'll leave everyone with that. That's my
And Debra.
So I say to you, do not let anybody take your sovereignty. For within your sovereignty, all that you hear today on this panel takes place. It's within you. Do not let anyone take your sovereignty. Number one, understand that love is source breath in action through your heart. Number three, ascension is really conscious awareness of the experience of vibration now. Conscious awareness, right now. It's very hard for humans to stay in the now, but if you can stay in the now and be in the experience of the vibration of the now, you will know how to raise your vibrations. And the last thing I want to say is to find others who are going through this with you, to search those others out, because I'm going to tell you this, you have no idea yet of the power of human, united, unified community. And we know community so well when we are in the unity community, unified. It doesn't matter if it's different species. We come together and the unified heals. It brings in the new modalities. It realigns. And so I say to you, there is a point that you will reach where you will establish enough unity consciousness. And when that happens in the human race, so much will dissolve that has kept you down. As a unity community, you'll start realizing the power of humans coming together with the purpose of love and the purpose of supporting each other, and harm would be a word that no longer exists. And so find each other, build these communities, love each other in these communities, and you watch the earth rise as she never has before.
So I'd love to end with an experience, because the new earth is not just talking in our heads or ideas or anything you can do in here, which is wonderful. This has been amazing. Thank you all so much. But I want to experience us all. I would love for us to ground, open up our hearts, open up to the higher forces, and each one of the presenters is going to give a prayer, an intention, an activation into the field, so that we can all experience experience each other and experience the power that we've generated here in this room and in this conference. So, also, before that, on your seats is a copy of my Ascension Tips postcard, which is a free booklet that explains Ascension that I've gathered from studying with all the Ascension teachers. So this is a free download that's on your chair.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll just start, and then I'll pass it on. It'll go down that way, and we'll come up and go down that way. And we have 1.5 minutes to give your transmission, just to stay on time. So I'd love for everyone just to come into your center. Come into your highest presence. And really just start with grounding your energy into Mama Gaia. Feel your connection with her, your love for her. We've been talking about the new version of her, of us, of all. Feel that energy of Mama Gaia. And just open up your energy field. And open up to the higher forces that are with us now. Welcoming them in, appreciating them, having them be a part. And come into your heart, big time into your heart, feel the power of your heart. And feel your heart connect with every other heart in this room, creating a network of heart connections. And as we've been talking about this love, feel this love that we have with us all the time. And I'd like us to visualize sending this love, this good energy, all that we required here at the conference, to ripple out to the world, and especially the people of LA who are going through challenges and their latest adventures of the fire. I would like to really send our power and love to those people as we are in their homeland now. And then rippling out to the rest of the world, this beam of love.
If we're to engage serendipity, which is the truest default of the actualized human heart, we are required to become a living witness. All beings in all dimensions are looking to us in the now, in the living moment. And the geometry of the living moment is perfect, always, in all ways. Can only ever be thus. And the pure truth and the right action that you embody, that you enact, that you manifest in the living now is the path of least resistance to the highest outcome.
Okay, so just close your eyes. Just breathe in as deeply and fully as you can. Breathing in all the beautiful energy around you. Breathing in deeply and fully, as if you can breathe in this beautiful, loving frequency. Breathe in the love from this room. Take it deep within your soul. And then exhale anything that no longer serves you. Let it all go. Let it flow right out. Breathing in deeply and fully. Breathe in all the love, all this loving energy And exhale any tensions, any worries, and any thoughts. Let it go. Anything that is no longer you, let it go. Imagine or visualize a beautiful light above your head. You can choose the color or colors and feel this beautiful, loving, and healing light flow down through your body, flooding your body with love and healing. Let this light be very strong as it floods your body with the message of unconditional love. Feel your body responding to this unconditional love, and feel this beautiful, loving, and healing light enter into your heart, healing your heart at all levels, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Feel your heart accepting, receiving the message of unconditional love. And feel your heart gently pumping this love so that it touches every cell, every fiber, every tissue of your being, and floods it with the message of unconditional love. And send gratitude through your whole body, thanking your body, flooding your body with thanks and gratitude, and feel your body responding.
I wish, I pray